To apply the volar splint, you'll first need to determine the correct splint width. Measure the width of the patient's wrist with a measuring tape or ProCare bandage. A 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch should extend over each side of the patient's wrist. This indicates the correct splint width. To confirm the accurate length of the splint, use a measuring tape, ProCare elastic bandage, or Exos Rapid Splint to measure from the patient's palmar crease to 2 inches below the elbow crease. Before you apply the Exos Rapid Splint Volar Splint, it's necessary to heat the splint. First, make sure the splint warmer is completely closed. Then, take the Exos Rapid Splint from its package and remove the foam padding if applicable. Slide the splint into the open end of the splint warmer. Leave about 2 inches of the splint exposed. Attach the hook wand to the exposed end of the splint and slide the splint all the way into the splint warmer. To begin heating the splint, plug in the splint warmer. Allow the splint to heat for about 5 to 7 minutes. After you've heated the Exos Rapid Splint, remove the splint from the warmer. Please note adjustments can be made to the splint prior to heating or post-heating if necessary. Trimmed edges should be rounded. Reapply the foam padding if applicable, and ensure padding extends beyond the edges of the splint. Trim the pad if needed. Place the splint end just proximal to the palmar crease and ask the patient to hold the splint. Secure the splint with 2 wraps around the wrist. Then wrap twice around the patient's hand. Work your way proximally around the wrist and arm to secure the entire splint. You'll typically place the wrist in 20 degrees of extension, and the splint allows for flexion of the MP joints. Use moderate elastic bandage tension, more than you would with fiberglass or plaster splints, to ensure good molding. Add shape and contour to the Exos Rapid Splint by molding with your palms. This significantly increases the final strength and rigidity of the splint and reduces setup time. If the final position of the splint is not ideal, remove the elastic bandage, place the Exos Rapid Splint back into the warmer, and repeat the application process. With standard heating time, overall hands-off rigidity should be achieved in approximately 3 to 5 minutes, while full rigidity will be achieved in about 10 to 15 minutes.